What if I told you that one of New York City's most misunderstood neighborhoods was once called the Jerusalem of America? That it survived some of the darkest moments in Brooklyn's history? And that behind its headlines lies a story of resilience most people have never heard? Today we're talking about Brownsville, Brooklyn, a place many people think they already know. But what if everything you've heard is only part of the story? Long before it became a symbol in news reports, Brownsville was farmland. In the 1800s, this area in eastern Brooklyn was mostly open fields. It was named after Charles S. Brown, a developer who began selling plots of land here in the 1860s. Back then, it was meant to be a suburban escape from crowded Manhattan. But everything changed in the early 20th century. Between 1900 and 1920, waves of Jewish immigrants fleeing persecution in Eastern Europe arrived in New York. Many settled in Brownsville because it was affordable and close to factory jobs. At one point, more than 70,000 Jewish residents lived here. Synagogues lined the streets. Yiddish theaters, bakeries, and schools filled the blocks. Brownsville became one of the largest Jewish communities in the United States. Here is something most people don't know. Brownsville was once a major center of labor activism. Workers from the garment industry organized here. Meetings were held in crowded apartments. Speeches echoed through small union halls. Some of the most important early labor movements in New York had roots in Brownsville. One powerful story from that era involves the young workers who joined the massive garment strikes of the early 1900s. Many were teenage girls working long hours for very little pay. They walked out of factories demanding better conditions. Families in Brownsville supported them, sometimes sharing their last pieces of bread to help strikers survive. It wasn't just a neighborhood. It was a community built on solidarity. Brownsville also produced cultural figures and leaders. Irving Berlin, one of America's most famous songwriters, grew up nearby. So did activists, writers, and political organizers who would go on to shape the city. But history is never static. After World War II, the neighborhood began to change. Many Jewish families moved to other parts of Brooklyn, Queens, and Long Island in search of more space and opportunity. At the same time, African American families, many coming from the South during the Great Migration, moved into Brownsville seeking better lives and jobs in New York. By the 1950s and 60s, Brownsville had become one of Brooklyn's largest African American communities. It developed a vibrant culture of its own: churches, music, block parties, small businesses. But this transition happened during a time of massive economic shifts. Factories began closing. Jobs disappeared. Redlining and discriminatory housing policies made it hard for residents to build wealth. Large public housing projects were constructed, including some of the biggest in New York City. While they were meant to provide stability, they were often built without enough investment in schools, jobs, or infrastructure. And then came one of the most controversial chapters in Brownsville's history, the 1968 teachers' strike. In 1968, a conflict erupted between the city's teachers, union, and local community leaders over control of schools in Brownsville and nearby Ocean Hill. Parents and activists wanted more say in how schools were run, believing the system was failing their children. The teachers' union opposed the decentralization plan. The strike shut down schools across New York City for weeks and exposed deep racial and political tensions. It wasn't just about classrooms. It was about power, identity, and who gets to shape the future of a community. The impact of that moment still echoes in conversations about education today. But if you only look at statistics from the late 20th century, you'd miss the heart of Brownsville. Yes, during the 1970s and 80s, the neighborhood struggled with poverty and high crime rates, like many urban communities across America during that era. But within those same streets were grandmothers walking grandchildren to school every morning. Church choirs practicing late into the evening. Local shop owners extending credit to families who were short on cash. There is a lesser-known story from the 1970s about a small group of residents who decided they were tired of abandoned lots attracting trash. Instead of waiting for the city, they cleaned the lots themselves and planted community gardens. Those gardens became safe gathering spaces for kids and elders alike. That spirit of "we'll fix it ourselves" has defined Brownsville more than any headline ever could. Brownsville is also deeply connected to hip-hop history. Brooklyn as a whole played a major role in shaping the culture. and artists from or connected to Brownsville have carried its voice into music, telling stories of struggle, ambition, and survival. Through lyrics and storytelling, they documented a reality often ignored by mainstream media. Another fact many people don't realize: Brownsville is home to one of the largest concentrations of public housing in the United States. The neighborhood contains multiple New York City Housing Authority developments, and thousands of families have built their lives there for generations. Within those buildings are college graduates, small business owners, artists, and everyday people working hard to create better futures for their children. And in recent years, change has been happening again. Community organizations have invested in youth programs, job training, and arts initiatives. New developments and city projects aim to bring resources and economic opportunities. Residents have pushed for better food access, safer streets, and stronger schools. It's not a simple transformation, and it's not without challenges, but it's ongoing. One powerful modern story is about young entrepreneurs from Brownsville who decided to start local businesses instead of leaving. From clothing brands to community cafes, they've chosen to reinvest in the neighborhood that raised them. Their message is clear: Brownsville is not something to escape from. It's something to build. When you walk through Brownsville today, you'll see layers of history in every block. Old storefronts that once had Yiddish signs, churches that became anchors during hard times, basketball courts filled with kids chasing big dreams, murals honoring community heroes. The truth is, Brownsville has been many things: a refuge for immigrants, a center of activism, a community facing systemic challenges, a place of creativity and resilience. But it has never been just one story. And maybe that's the real untold history, not a single dramatic event, but the quiet strength of generations who refuse to let their neighborhood be defined only by its struggles. So the next time you hear the name Brownsville, think beyond the stereotypes. Think about the teenage garment workers marching for dignity, the parents fighting for their children's education in 1968, the neighbors planting gardens in abandoned lots, the artists turning pain into poetry, because behind every block is a memory, behind every building is a family, and behind every headline is a history far deeper than most people ever see. Brownsville isn't just a place on the map of Brooklyn, it's a story still being written.